In an age of remakes, redos, and revivals, it appears we have our first remake of a Christian film. Flywheel, Ignition of the Soul, comes out in October of this year, 2026, and is a remake of the Kendrick Brothers' first film, Flywheel, from 2003. Kind of interesting in that in this age of Christian filmmakers really thriving, we have our first remake of an early Christian filmmaker's film, Flywheel. I guess not really. I mean, you can talk about films like The Ten Commandments that have been remade a million times and things like that. But in this more modern era of Christian filmmakers, this is the first time we've had a remake of a Christian film. So it's kind of interesting. Flywheel, for those of you that don't know, was the Kendrick Brothers' 2003 film that really launched their filmmaking career, and they're still going strong today. And this was one that was very low budget, just kind of shot on video, as I recall. I've got the DVD director's cut here. So it's kind of quaint by today's standards for sure, but it does have a neat storyline to it. And we're going to talk a little bit about this today and about this remake and what's kind of unique about it. And this is a little bit older news. I think it dropped back in late April. I was traveling a lot throughout May, so I'm just kind of getting caught up on some of those things. But it does have a unique story, the original does. Here's the novel by Eric Wilson of the original film, which I picked up not too long ago, actually. I haven't read this yet, but I think I will give it a read and probably review it before this remake comes out in October. I'll post the review here on the channel. But anyway, welcome back to Faith in Film, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Saw this news again a while back, and I've been meaning to cover it here and thought today was a good opportunity to do so. Get caught up on some faith in film stories going on here. Also have a review of The Great Awakening, which you can probably see the poster there behind me. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but that review of that film will be coming. I saw that in theaters, and it's now out on streaming, so it's high time I got that review done. So that's coming out here this week as well, too. But let's talk about this. There's an article that dropped over on Deadline, and it says here, Sony's Affirm Films, that's kind of the Christian film division of Sony Pictures, sets quarter four release for Brazilian remake of Kendrick Brothers' Flywheel. Again, this dropped back on April 22nd, so apologies for the delay in getting to this story. Punch in here, and it says Sony Pictures Affirm Films has set an October 16th release date for the Brazilian remake of the Kendrick Brothers' 2003 debut film, Flywheel, Ignition of the Soul. The movie will open in Brazil and Latin America in September. So this is kind of what's interesting about this thing. It's a Brazilian remake, so it's not an American remake. Why is that? Why Brazil, and why are they remaking it? It's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at that. The movie emerged out of the Kendrick Brothers' growing impact in Brazil. Their 2024 film, The Forge, which is a phenomenal film, by the way. I've reviewed that here. I've reviewed the novel of it, too. It's a very good film. If you have not yet seen The Forge from 2024, definitely need to check it out. It's very good. But their 2024 film, The Forge, opened in Brazil at number 1 and ultimately reported a gross of $9 million there. While promoting The Forge release, Alex and Stephen Kendrick connected with leaders across the country who expressed a growing need for locally rooted, faith-driven content. Affirm Films sprung to the idea to invest in the Brazilian faith-based audience and filmmakers. So there you go. Why Brazil? Because there's a demand for it there. There's an audience for it there. And clearly there's money for it there too. So again, to support a project, to make it worthwhile, of course, you got to be able to have an audience that's hungry for the content, that's also willing to pay for it, and that will make money to, of course, support spending money to make a film and to distribute it in a particular region. So clearly the statistics are there. The support and the demand for it is there. In collaboration with executive producer Igor Sikera, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, and 360 Way Up, the team identified Flywheel as the ideal fan favorite title to be filmed through a culturally authentic lens. Set in Rio de Janeiro, the new film follows Noah Silva, a smooth-talking used car salesman whose do-whatever-it-takes approach to business and life begins to unravel at home and at work. After a series of wake-up calls, Noah is forced to confront the cost of his choices. He begins a difficult and deeply personal journey to restore his integrity while trying to win back the hearts of his wife and son. So the storyline kind of mirrors that of the original, which, again, for those not familiar with it, here's a description on the back of the DVD. Jay Austen wants to sell used cars in the worst way, and that's exactly how he does business at his dealership, promising much more than he can ever deliver. He'll do whatever it takes to sell a car. His manipulative ways permeate all his relationships, even his wife and son don't trust him. But as Jay works on restoring a classic convertible, it's the one on the cover, I believe, he begins to see that God is working on restoring him as well. Coming face to face with the reality of how he truly conducts himself, Jay Austen begins the ride of his life as he learns to honor God with his business, his relationships, and his life. So, again, here's a similar kind of storyline, but obviously transported to Brazil to create something that fits the demands of that particular culture, some of the cultural differences that take place, and how this same kind of faith-related story would plug into that environment with a very similar story. Different character, though, Noah Silva as opposed to Jay Austen. So interesting. Kind of curious about the angle of this. Let's punch in a little bit more about some of the details behind the film. The pic stars Mario Bregueria, Parola Faria. You're going to have to, forgive me on pronunciations of these names, these Brazilian names. Jui Tavares, Felipe Folgassi, Adriano Caninde, and Elizu Rodriguez, with Alex Kendrick, of course. Written by Alex Kendrick and directed by Alessandro Barros, the remake will be dubbed and subtitled in English over the original Portuguese language for the North American market when it releases here in October. It releases in Brazil, as I mentioned, they're in September, so they get the jump on us, of course. The Brazilian filmmakers had all the talent and ingredients in the kitchen, but wanted us to help them produce something inspirational in Brazil at the quality they saw in The Forge, said Alex Kendrick. So again, what I love about this too is here a film like The Forge, which again I thought was really good, is inspiring now other filmmakers to want to do things in the faith-based film market, and inspired by filmmakers, specifically the Kendrick brothers here in this case, and one of their films to want to do that, here in this case in Brazil. That's incredible. Now we've got Christian filmmakers inspiring other Christian filmmakers in other regions of the world. Incredible. Love it. So he goes on to say here, what usually takes months of preparation happened in days. It was amazing. We did not know the language, local resources, or culture, but saw God help us do more in less time. We found out that Brazilian pastors had been praying for this for 5 years. The movie is better shot, acted, and scored than the original, and the storyline is just as powerful. I'm truly excited to see how audiences will respond to this new version in theaters this fall, said Stephen Kendrick. That's Alex's brother. It's interesting because the original, like I said, it was very low budget. I mean, it was made for about $20,000, and it made $37,000 about at the box office back in 2003, which doesn't sound like much, but this launched the Kendrick brothers' careers for a low budget Christian film at that time. That was pretty significant. That made a mark. It got some attention because it was, again, just very minimally shot and acted and everything like that. So to make $37,000 off a $20,000 budget was actually pretty decent for that. And of course, that catapulted them from then on into, I think their next film was Facing the Giants, the football film, and then they went on to make the Fireproof film that had Kirk Cameron in it, and then stuff just kind of kept going from there, leading up to The Forge, which obviously is still inspiring people today after its 2024 release. So anyway, this is just really cool. we're getting a remake of a Christian film produced by the Kendrick Brothers. Go ahead and say it's been an honor to partner with Kendricks over the past 20 years and witness firsthand the extraordinary worldwide impact of their films. This is Rich Peluso, head of Affirm Films, saying this. It's exciting to see the story of Flywheel reimagined in a new and meaningful way, introducing a new generation to what made it so special in the first place. So really interesting. I just think this is cool. Again, you don't often hear of Christian films being remade. You know, we've got a ton of them in the mainstream film market that are being remade. This is the era of remakes, it still seems like, reimaginings and redos. Again, other than things like Ten Commandments, some of the bigger biblical epics or things like that, there's not a lot of remakes. There haven't been any remakes of Christian films that I can think of off the top of my head. This is really the first one, which is interesting. And it's not being remade just for the sake of, the original was low budget, let's remake it, which I think would be justified in and of itself. But at the same time, here doing it for the sake of introducing this particular story and using the faith-based elements to introduce the gospel into a different culture is a really interesting idea. So I'm going to be watching this in October. I wasn't aware of this when I did my top 10 anticipated releases, or I don't think it was top anticipated releases of Christian films for this year. This was not on the list because I wasn't aware of it, but now this is definitely jumping onto that list because I'm very curious about this one. Again, the first one's not, the quality of filmmaking was just very low budget. But the story is intriguing. And I'd be very curious as to where this remake takes them, especially, again, since the intent is to do it at the Forge level of production quality and acting and everything. So I'll be watching for this one. What do y'all think? Are y'all fans of Kendrick Brothers films? Did you see the original Flywheel, maybe when it first came out? Are you looking forward to seeing this one when it drops on October 16th here in 2026 in theaters here in the United States? Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm excited. I like Kendrick Brothers films, and The Forge was definitely a highlight one for me. And I remember seeing Flywheel back in the day when it did first come out. So I'm excited about this. See what they do and see how they translate it for the Brazilian market. Again, this isn't really the Kendrick Brothers involvement. This is a different director. And the Kendrick Brothers, I think, are kind of helping or maybe co-producing along with it. So it'll be interesting to see what the result is on this film. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise, go out, watch a great Christian film today. But remember, above all else, stay in God's Word. Blessings, y'all. Have a great one.